leadership. Republican Iowa Senator and Army combat veteran Joni Ernst. Senator, thank you for being on the program today. First of all, are we inching our way closer to a wider war in the Middle East?
Well, that is not a foregone conclusion, Harris. And what we do know is that Israel, when they were attacked over the weekend by Iran, saw the response from a number of other Arab countries that actually stepped up to defend their own airspace and Israel's interests. So I am with Israel. I am thankful that they did go ahead and strike Iran. They retaliated just as they should. But what Iran needs to keep in mind is that there is a very strong group of Arab nations that do support Israel. They don't agree with the attacks by Hamas on October 7th. They are in the Abraham Accords. We know that Saudi Arabia is trying to move forward with their own plans with Israel to strengthen ties. So I think Iran needs to be very careful about this. They need to think carefully. But President Joe Biden's got to step up. He can't continue to appease Iran.
Well, look, so far he only knows 4 words: don't and take the win. And none of those words are helping the situation. But what does it mean when you tell an ally to just take it when an enemy hits that ally?
Well, it's absolutely unacceptable, in my opinion, Harris. President Joe Biden shouldn't be bowing down to the Iranian regime. He shouldn't be telling the Israelis how they should be fighting their war. What he should be doing is saying, Israel, we will stand shoulder to shoulder with you. Whatever you need, we're on call. So we haven't seen that. But my message from Congress and from many of my colleagues, both Democrat and Republican, is that we stand with Israel. We will always stand with Israel.
Is it complicated for the president now with all of the protesters in the streets calling him all sorts of names like Genocide Joe? Look, we saw an uncommitted vote in Michigan. The politics of this for President Biden, are they dicey, or is the actual right thing to do pretty easy? And maybe he should take the win.
Right. The right thing to do, Harris, is always easy. But of course, President Joe Biden is not choosing to do the right thing. When you do the right thing, you have a clear conscience. But he is bowing down to all of these far left extremists that are now even saying we are Hamas. This, again, is unacceptable. This is America. We don't allow terrorism to reign. Joe Biden has got to step up. The problem is he is so weak. He is weak on the world stage, and now we see exactly what we as Republicans have known for a very long time, is that he is also weak domestically. So this is a great opportunity coming up in November. We do need to see a change in administration. We did not see these same issues in the previous administration under President Donald Trump. We need a strong leader right now. Joe Biden doesn't fit the bill.
Well, you mentioned the Abraham Accords. They didn't happen under Biden. They happened under Trump.
Exactly.
It's been one of the few things, though, Biden hasn't touched. We'll see what happens. U.S. Border Patrol reports more than 9,600 criminal arrests at the southern border since October 1st. More than 270 have been tied to international gangs. Look at that. The FBI director said they are closely tracking a particular Venezuelan gang. Let's watch that.
What is the FBI doing to combat the rise in transnational criminal organizations, specifically the Venezuelan gang Tren de Agua, TDA?
So we're certainly tracking that particular gang, TDA, as we would refer to it. We have Safe Streets Violent Gang Task Forces in all 56 of our field offices.
The so-called TDA gang is linked to the suspected killer of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley grilled DHS Secretary Mayorkas Jose Ibarra, a Venezuelan national who was out on patrol at the time. He was asking Mayorkas about that suspect.
You know what he did?
I know what he's accused of doing.
Which is?
Murdering a young woman.
And that wasn't the first crime that he committed in this country, was it?
Senator, as I've articulated previously, I'm not going to speak about the facts of the case, but I will not speak to the particulars of the case, given the pending criminal prosecution.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Well, you certainly, of course you don't want to, because it is an absolutely damning indictment of your policies.
Okay, just a moment on Ibarra. He's one of several illegal immigrants who police recently charged with violent crimes in the United States. An op-ed with this headline, "Every death caused by an illegal is easily preventable." We're scrolling them now. Senator.
Beyond failures in this administration. And what we saw demonstrated by the lack of a trial this week with the impeachment articles of Secretary Mayorkas being dismissed by the Democratic leader, Chuck Schumer, it tells me that not only is the Biden administration failing, but they are also pushing this on the Democrats in the Senate just to ignore any facts that might be relevant to our southern border and any sort of criminality that is occurring because of the illegals streaming into the United States. We have an issue with fentanyl. We have an issue with these foreign terrorists and foreign gangs, but they refuse to do anything about it.
Why wouldn't they want us to know, though? I mean, we American citizens are outnumbered at this point at the border with people coming through. We aren't even able to vet the ones we want to vet. And then you've got more than 1 million who have sneaked in.
Absolutely, Harris. And this is an embarrassment to the Democrats. And of course, it is an election year. And they do not want to have to respond to any of the evidence that was brought forward from those impeachment articles into a trial in the United States Senate. So effectively, what Leader Schumer and the Democrats did is say, you know what, we don't have to do our constitutional duty. We're going to pretend this crisis doesn't exist.
Senator Joni Ernst from the great state of Iowa, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you, Harris.